Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day. To start things off, as the halving approaches, Bitcoin's wild price action is back, providing over $500 in gains in less than 4 hours. Bitcoin started the month of April strong, surging over 17% in the past 2 days. Now Bitcoin could be preparing for a further upswing. After weeks of consolidation, volatility has struck the cryptocurrency market. Indeed, over $15 billion flooded into the industry, pushing the total market cap to nearly $200 billion US. Meanwhile, Bitcoin saw its price surge by nearly 10% to reach a high of 7,300 US. The price action allowed the flagship cryptocurrency to start the second quarter of the year in a bullish posture after its poor performance in quarter one, according to the crypto derivatives data provider Skew. There's a little chart right there. It seems that, for those of you not looking at the screen, historically, quarter two, which we have just entered, is apparently a very good green time for Bitcoin. Last year it was 161% gain. 2017, 131%. It seems the only anomaly thus far, has been 2018, which we all know was just a bit of a cluster. Despite the substantial bullish momentum seen recently, it appears that an important supply barrier was able to contain Bitcoin from a further advance. It says into the blocks, in out of the money around the current price model, reveals that over 800,000 addresses containing more than 380,000 BTC at an average price of 7,200 served as a strong resistance. The hurdle was significant enough to reject the bellwether cryptocurrency, pushing its price back below 7,000 US. So it was a very weird sequence of events, and I'll go over them, of course, in the next couple of seconds. For some reason, no one knows why, no one knows why not. Bitcoin yesterday started going up. I was hanging out with my friend. It was really, really weird because we were talking about prices, decided to look at prices and realized that everything was up by a couple of percent. As we kept on talking, we looked at his screen and saw that the value of Bitcoin continued to kind of go up, but there's no news as of right now, as is, I want to say normal. We just don't have any indication as to why this happened. I assume within a week or so, it'll be something about the whales or this or the cats or the mongooses or whatever other animal is kind of out there did something to the price. What's really interesting is that the price didn't reject 7,000. It kind of zooped up past it. But the circumstances for all of this are kind of odd. This one says Bitcoin price holds 6,800, defying predictions of testing new lows. This is why I can't stand some people sometimes. After the price of Bitcoin had moved up around 6-7% almost immediately, depending on, not even depending on where you looked, when you looked for information as to maybe why this was happening, a number of crypto analysts, the people who we talk about often, had already started making arguments on Twitter and or other platforms as to why the price was already going to go back down. I mean, it was legit about 45 minutes into the price moving up. We already had negative Nancy's coming out talking about why it would not sustain, why it would not hold. And I saw a couple of them. You know exactly who I'm talking about. There's one main person who constantly is always there when it comes to talking about how much lower prices have to go before they can go up, but by the time they go back up, they're already talking about that it has to go back down again. Talking about that Bitcoin was going to fall from this movement upward, the one that we were just talking about, back down to anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000. This is what their charts were showing. Really interesting, though, is if you look at their other charts from the last couple of months, they all said the exact same thing, and it never actually ended up happening because they were also talking about going to a $900 Bitcoin. So where we are right now, at least at the time of me making this video, is that Bitcoin is constantly bouncing off of 6,800. It seems that whatever animal is out there is seemingly trying to push it down further, but it's very resilient and keeps on going back up. The other really weird part is, for those of you who do not know or may simply be unaware, For some reason, yesterday, the stock market also rallied. And while that may sound cool, awesome, amazing, especially if you have money in the market, really weird because we only had received negative news through the entirety of yesterday, but then for some reason, the stock market decided to rally on that news. Even the news of like relief packages didn't really give the markets a shake. Here's kind of the main news that was deployed that sent the stock market higher. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says a 3,000% jump in jobless claims has devastated the U.S. job market. That's right. We got news that the jobless rate is at an all-time high and jumped by 3,000%. And for some reason, the stock market went up. The last 3 weeks have marked one of the worst, probably the worst and most devastating periods in American history for the job market, as first-time claims for unemployment benefits have surged more than 3,000% since early March. It is early April. Businesses continue to lay off and furlough workers. 6.6 million U.S. workers filed for their first week of unemployment benefits in the week ending the 28th of March. So if you're keeping track, last week we spoke about this, and a little bit before the week before, do you remember what was really significant? Is that 2 weeks ago, the jobless claims number was around 300,000 people across the entirety of the U.S. Last week, that number had jumped from 300,000 to 3.2 million people, which was absolutely obscene. And keeping in mind also, once again, that there are certain factors for you to actually be able to receive jobless benefits money, unemployment benefits. You, depending on where you are, you usually have to have worked at a job for anywhere usually longer than a year. It has to be like you have to be let go for a certain reason. You also, the point being is that the actual official numbers are only people who are eligible to actually get this. So one can only assume that the number is at least logically at least 1% higher than the 6.6 million. But we can safely assume it's probably over the actual double this amount just based off of, I had a friend tell me that he is not eligible because he was working at his job for only 9 months, and you have to have the 1 year cutoff. And I think it's also different for every single state, which is also just fantastic that nothing in that country seems to work as it actually should. I listened to a podcast yesterday talking about the actual how each state is completely different when it comes to unemployment and how much money they'll actually give you. There are certain states, I think according to the news I was listening to, I think New York is trying to do something where they give you around $800 per week because the cost, I mean, this is a rough number, because the cost of things in New York City and New York State are relatively higher than they are in other places. But there are other states where they're trying to give around $200 per week, which still doesn't even cover half of people's rent in other states. So it's just a lot of crazy things going on. And then once again, to make it even weirder, the news that we had almost directly after that, it says nearly half of states don't have enough funds. They don't have the money to pay all those unemployment claims. They said we're talking about 10 million people filing for unemployment insurance in 2 weeks. Nobody's prepared for that. Do you want to know why we have the number 10 million right now? Because if you paid attention to what we were just talking about, that was the week ending the 28th of March. The official numbers were 6.6 million. Yesterday, the numbers came out that it is over 10 million people within the United States who are now trying to get some form of unemployment. The problem is the states don't even have that money. The podcast was, it's really weird. The podcast was talking about this a week ago, and they said the current projections are placing it, if this entire thing does continue, you know exactly what we're talking about. We're looking at a situation where they're expecting anywhere from 30 to 50 million people, that's not a fake number, within the United States having no jobs and or trying to claim unemployment benefits in some sort of way. Do you understand that is 1 out of every 6 people within the United States? And you also have to think, how many of those are actually of working age and over 18? So you then wipe out around 1/3, if not half, of all people who are actually able to work, discounting the under 18s who probably are not able to work or should be going to school. And then you also have the over 65s who are also retired and also need their retirement benefits, which is also drying up because there's a huge retirement crisis going on. And then it's not even a perfect storm. It's like 5 hurricanes coming at the exact same time. Do you understand what that means for the place you live in to not even have enough money to pay unemployment claims? And those are the initial claims. Imagine if we get 30 million people. If they can't pay 10 million people across 25 states can't pay it, what happens when that number triples? What happens when other people, and these are just the people who actually, once again, are eligible for it. And if you have been tracking everything I've been talking about, for some reason on this news, the stock market went up. So don't be surprised if at some point we see a major drop in stock prices. If you've never watched that, what is it called? Is it The Big Short? I don't remember what it's called. I think it has to be The Big Short. If you've never watched it, watch it. Before the great financial crash of 2008, 2009, the stock market rallied. Even as we got indications that things were not going well, there were still periods and days where the price of the stock market would go up by 5 or 6%. People were like, yeah, we're recovering. And then a couple of days after, it'd be this devastating amount of loss. I'm going to assume this push up was based entirely on people knowing how to move the market up so that they can make their last bit of cash before things come tumbling down. If we had indications in news reports that the jobless claims were nearing 1 million people and stocks completely fell down, I can only assume that they're probably not going to fare very well with 10 million people, especially as the current situation appears to only be potentially getting worse in many places. Yeah, it's weird, right? It's not just me. It's not just me reading things incorrectly or interpreting them wrong. 10 million people already. These are the people who are eligible for actually being able to get it. Like, imagine losing your job and you've been working there for 11 months and you don't. Like, there are probably millions of people within the States who started a new job 11 months or sooner. Right. So the crypto market's up, as are stocks, unemployment's up, and then unemployment's up even more. So one can only assume this is going to continue, and the news numbers that we're going to get next week are probably going to be significantly higher. Very weird times. A very, very weird all around. Let's move on. Next up. Wow. I took in too much air as I was trying to breathe out. Institutional crypto custodian Anchorage has added support for XRP, the third largest cryptocurrency by market cap. Announcing the news on Thursday, Anchorage co-founder and president Diogo Monica, said there's an ecosystem of institutions that hold XRP and want to secure it. XRP meets Anchorage standards of quality and security. Also adding, as a leading cryptocurrency for global payments and remittances, XRP is attractive to many institutional investors. Anchorage worked with Ripple's development team at Spring to integrate the cryptocurrency. The custodians may also add more XRP functions like payment channels, which allows users to send asynchronous XRP payments that can be divided into very small increments and settled later. Yeah, this was news that was everywhere news. Here's the actual blog post. Why am I squinting so hard? I'm not even close to the screen. It says Anchorage, announcing Anchorage supports XRP. Kind of self-explanatory. Yeah, I want to say I'm shocked, but I'm not, because this is happening across the board. We see many different, not even institutions, things like this. I assume at some point, I gave it 3 years, whichever coins are probably within the top 10, they will also be supported as well or custodied, because they are going to be some of the most valuable assets on the planet. So yeah, XRP was probably just a fit. I'm sure they had many people or institutions telling them, hey, add it. So then they finally added it. Yeah, there we go. That's the XRP Anchorage support news. And let's move on. Next up, the Financial Action Task Force, which sounds like the A-Team, or like some really cheesy 80s movie with like 4 guys with big guns. The Financial Action Task Force has rated the United States largely compliant with its revised criteria for preventing money laundering, terrorist financing, AML-CFT, through digital assets. The Intergovernmental Standards Group published its assessment of the U.S. compliance with its banking rules, evaluating laws and regulations around digital assets and other areas on Tuesday. That's not to say the U.S. is completely in line with the current new technology standards, known by the FATF as Recommendation 15. The most powerful members of the Financial Action Task Force Global Financial Crimes Network retains minor deficiencies. For example, U.S. registered money services businesses need only keep detailed records of transactions of 3,000 or more. That's 3 times higher than the Financial Action Task Force required due diligence trigger, and could, in the watchdog's view, let bad actors slip through. They are worried about you transacting or moving around $3,000 without them knowing it. Just wanted to make sure everyone understood that. They said this higher threshold is not clearly supported by low MLTF risks. U.S. regulators also lag in their investigation of convertible virtual currency businesses. According to the Financial Action Task Force, their strategy does not specifically identify higher risk virtual asset service programs, or VASP, making their various examinations of high volume exchanges and peer-to-peer networks insufficient. Remember when we were talking about that tons of people are taking their money off of cryptocurrency exchanges? This is probably a very large portion of it. Keep in mind that very soon in the future, regardless of where you have your money on a crypto exchange, you will be required to give your information. If they have a problem with you sending $3,000 equivalent or more, just imagine if you have 1/4 of a Bitcoin and Bitcoin's price goes to 50,000 and you try to move it. You kind of get what I'm saying. Make sure that you are always within the legal purview or the legal framework of wherever you live. Just make sure to remember it is legal for you to hold your own cryptocurrency. It is legal for you to have a ledger, because nearly all of the cryptocurrency exchanges now have some type of a banking license. They will be treating your money soon as if they were an official bank. And yeah, I can feel it coming. Like, I can feel that this is all going to completely take place. I think a lot of people who are even hearing this now will be shocked in about a year or two when they can't take their crypto off of an exchange. Once again, keeping in mind, we will probably get to a point where crypto prices go up dramatically high, and you are going to want to do stuff with, I mean, it's just do your own due diligence. Make sure everything you have is secure for you and yours in the future, because these are not recommendations by the FATF. These are, you have to do them recommendations. It's just how things work. And they want to make sure that they know where all of this money is going at all times. So let's move on. Next up, an icy mountain in Norway's Svalbard, an all but inhabitable Arctic archipelago covered in glaciers and inhabited by polar bears, is an unlikely, actually quite likely, safe haven for cryptocurrency code, let alone a pillar of modern day civilization. But it's here, 250 meters underground in a forsaken coal mine that GitHub has chosen to store reams of open source code that includes Bitcoin Core, by far the most popular code implementation of Bitcoin's underlying infrastructure and one of the most used repositories on GitHub. It's part of an archiving program for safeguarding an important part of technological history. A snapshot of all this code will be copied onto film reels and stored in a steel container, all done in an effort to keep the data alive and unscathed for 1,000 years. The team is currently getting this data ready. The official deposit into the mountain is planned for late April. A GitHub spokesperson told CoinDesk. There's the actual island there if you were planning on taking a little old trip. But while Bitcoin Core is featured, most cryptocurrency projects stored on GitHub will also be included. They're going to have the Lightning Network. They're also going to have Ethereum and Dogecoin. Sure, why not? I feel like Dogecoin is irrelevantly relevant at this point. Just the fact that it is still alive and ticking after all of this, I guess shows some type of, I don't know if it's the resilience of the project. I don't know if it's the resilience of the face of the dog or just blockchain in general, that it shows that there doesn't need to be a head of operations in order for something to really be stored inside of a mountain. But yeah, this is, I want to say it's kind of cool. I assume this is also happening in other parts of the world as well. For those of you who don't know, a lot of this is done in like in case of like a doomsday scenario. Should things go rapidly downhill, future generations will be able to find things like this, and that's not to. It's just kind of realistic. There are tons of other things like this. It's the same exact thing that we have that have you ever seen like the seed bank? It's like a gigantic fortress somewhere in the mountains where like every single type of seed is stored. The idea is, should something become extinct, should something be overrun and or destroyed, we have the seeds to remake it, rebuild it. Yeah. Anyway, this is not the first time that something Bitcoin has been stored inside of a mountain. I think 1,000 years is a bit intense. I do wish them the best of luck in their Arctic efforts. Yeah, this was also kind of everywhere as well. Like a lot of people were talking about this. I'm sure. All right, let's move on. And to finish things off, Binance has entered the South Korean market and will launch a local crypto exchange on its white label platform known as Binance Cloud. Dubbed Binance KR, the exchange will initiate registration and deposits on the 2nd of April, that was yesterday, while the trading will be open on the 4th of April, that's tomorrow. Announced on Tuesday, this will be the first digital currency exchange on Binance Cloud. Binance first unveiled the white label solution last month, allowing local enterprises to easily set up their crypto exchange. To facilitate trading, the global exchange giant has recently introduced Binance Korea, KRW, a BEP2 stablecoin backed by South Korean won, which will be the base currency for Binance KR. A lot of letters here. The announcement also detailed that initially, the new exchange will support trading with Bitcoin, Ether, Binance Coin, and Brokerer, BKRW. However, it also has plans to add 2 more stablecoins, USDT and BUSD. Commenting on the new South Korean platform, Changpeng Tsao said, "We are pleased to provide a digital asset platform for users in Korea to bring the trading depth, security, and transaction speed of Binance.com to Binance Korea. Our decision to list Brokerer trading pails will also allow us to seamlessly connect crypto to the South Korean won in order to expand our local services." Yay! This was everywhere, all over the place. Everyone keeps talking about it. Woo, woo, woo. Binance announced at the beginning of this year or the end of last year, for those of you who weren't paying attention, that they planned on having a fiat trading pair in just about every single country. Once again, South Korea and Japan could still be, were before in the past, very gigantimous markets for the cryptocurrency space. As it appears, I think we had news 2 weeks ago that apparently crypto is now officially, 2 years later, officially legal in South Korea. I assume this is why Binance made sure to swoop in. There's Binance news every day, and I mean like every single day. I'm actually quite surprised at how quickly they're expanding their operations. It seems almost otherworldly. I'm actually shocked that Coinbase hasn't risen to the challenge and also opened and done as many things as Binance has. Like, I think the last Coinbase news that we had was that people were depositing stuff on their website a month ago. Binance has opened like 7 new exchanges. They've added like 25 new fiat pairings. Yeah, I'm actually legitimately shocked. I don't really care for Coinbase, but you assume they have the money to also do things like this, but they're not. Binance is in the news every single day. Don't be surprised if when the cryptocurrency market completely explodes and we hit new all-time highs, if Binance becomes the #1 exchange in the world, because they're in like 38 countries right now. Anyway, that's the Binance news, and yeah, that's the Binance news. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Yasha Harari, Moonman High XRP, Joshua Vineyard, Martin Stoyer, Josh Gorsica, Chongololo, Songololo, A Bibliophobia, the Bare Bones Mining, The Animal Reader, John Sarson, Mr. Pickles, Nostromo, Bare Bones Mining, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Mohammed Roni, Master Ventures in Thailand, Brady Niels, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankroll Network, Adobo, Milweezy, Crypto Artist, Cold D3D, Nicholas Renorth, One Piece, One Love, Richie Rich III, Nick Kanaya, Setsuna, Damien, Vlad the Impaler, Crypto Shipmate, Paxis, Nick Mangialavodi, Anthony Charles, Jim Gardner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Miller Hitch Chest every day, and Cal Skips Leg Day, Yes to Crypto, Bodie McBoatface, Anytime Fitness, Monk's Corner Staff, Arfmedic17, Bake Me a Cake, Tigger Machonisa, On Crypto with Lionel, Crayola and Michelle, URL, and hold on, I have to sneeze. Thank you all very, very much for your support. And thank you to everyone who is a supporter of the channel. At the moment, the market is, Bitcoin looks like it's trying to go back above 7,000 US dollars. When I started making the video, it was at 6,700. It's up by $200 in the last 20 something, I have no idea how long the video is. Something minutes. Yeah, we'll see what happens as the day goes on. We already, to be fair, we passed by 7,300 yesterday. There's no indicators saying that we can't do it once again. I would love to sit in a room and just watch whales reacting as Bitcoin's price goes higher. I wonder what the always wonder what their motives are. Why they sell whenever we look like we could be getting above a certain point. Maybe they feel like it's going too hot. Maybe they're just trying to accumulate more. It's probably the second one. I think greed is a very strong thing. Anyway, we'll see how this plays out. If we end up shooting past 7,000 and trying to get to 8,000, I will definitely let you all know. But as of right now, it's nice to see a sea of green, as it were. But yeah, very weird. I don't understand why the stock market would go up. I don't think anybody else can understand that either. Like, there's no real optimistic news about the traditional economy. Like, there's zero. I think there was like a situation yesterday where the price of petrol had shot up because I don't remember, one of the countries who's feuding with the other country, they agreed to like a sit-down talk, which is also complete nonsense. Like, you can't argue with someone else, make sure the price of your product gets lowered, potentially buy up more on market at a lower price, and then agree that you're going to have like friendly talks and then the price raises. So you pretty much just benefited yourself, which is really weird that that's not illegal, because it's kind of like a very odd petrol insider trading. Like, anyway, yeah, let's see how this all turns out. I do hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening. Wherever you are, wherever on this crazy planet you might be, I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.